Hey guys, this is Editing Steven from Third Wheel Podcast here. Usually we record episodes that last about an hour to an hour and a half. Sometimes we go over that hour and a half limit, but not by much. Today we have a lot of material, let me just put it at that. I have a pretty big story, and it's a relatively personal story that I talk about in this episode. And the thing that happens with this is that there's a lot to unpack here, and we made the executive decision that we were just going to do a two-part episode. And so the episode is kind of just going to roughly just abruptly end, but I'll give a little piece at the end of it. But just a fair warning that this will be a two-part episode. Brandon and Grace's takes and their stories in regards to this and who is dubbed the third wheel will appear next week as a new episode. But it'll just kind of start as abruptly as this episode finishes. It'll just kind of take off. So let it be known to that. And yeah, if you guys are new, thank you for joining this podcast. If you guys are not new and you're returning, welcome back, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to Third Wheel, the show where we talk about anything that we want to talk about and find out after the fact that I'm just so bad at doing my job. I'm Steven, and I'm joined as always by Brandon and Grace. Say hello.
So bad.
I'm so bad at doing my
also
job.
do things and they don't mean anything in the end.
Yeah, I'm so bad at doing my job. If you guys are new here, welcome. I don't know if you'll be hearing this or not at this point. But if you're new to this, welcome. What happens here is that every episode there's a topic, we discuss it, maybe we don't, I don't know, and one of us is deemed the third wheel, which just basically means they lost that episode, because we don't have winners here, and they have to host the next episode in a behind-the-scenes handshake deal that we did, but they also get to pick the topic for next week's episode to give them an edge on not being third wheel next week. And technically, even though at this point it was like 2 months ago, I was the third wheel of the episode and had to pick the topic for today. It was honestly like almost 2 months ago.
It was a very long time ago.
I'm so upset by that.
Don't worry about it.
We had like an episode after, so Brandon made me the third wheel is what happened, yeah. And then I had an episode in line that I had lined up, and it was the rhyming one. I think Grace became the third wheel from that one. Brandon came the third wheel from that one. He only got 1 point from it. Then I became the third wheel again, and then we had an episode with Randy that didn't work, and then that took 2 weeks to try and get, and then we in the meantime we did an episode of Deal or No Deal that didn't work. And Brandon suffered a lot, and then the following week is when we did stuff with Randy, in which we referenced all of this Deal or No Deal stuff.
Thinking that the episode was going to actually
Thinking that everything was okay, and then it wasn't. It was like, so the thing that happened with Randy is that, like, you heard, like, 3 minutes of it, and then no audio played ever. The weird thing with the Deal or No Deal thing was that it played for 30 minutes and it was fine, and then all of a sudden it was as if like an alien had attacked it, and it was spiking weird audio noises, completely cut out, came back in for a bit, and I was like, maybe I just cut that part out, and then it was only fine for like 30 seconds, and then the rest of it was just garbage, and I was like,
hey.
Well, fine. Guess this isn't happening either. I'm so bad at my job. So bad at doing this.
I was gonna say don't worry about it, but yeah, no, just get better at your job.
No, I'm worried about it. I keep making eye time. I'm just watching time tick by at this point. Just watching how long we're recording.
Speaking of jobs, which I don't have currently because it's summer, how is your shit going, guys?
Brandon, you go first.
Let's go.
Really? That's all we get? It's been like 2 months. There better be some sort of update.
No, it hasn't.
Balrog.
It's been like, this is like what, his third or fourth week?
That's my
Like 8
fourth
months?
week, yeah.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
so it's been a month. There's gotta be more than it's going.
Oh my god, no, tell the meatloaf story.
What?
Am I allowed to talk about that like publicly because it's like a
Really?
client? Like, am I?
Actually,
Is that
well,
something
if you
that I
don't
can do?
disclose names or important information.
I mean, that's fine. You can tell us. We'll bleep everything out because Steven needs to hear it.
Yeah, I do
Okay,
need to hear
so
this meatloaf story.
basically, one of the newer attorneys that they just hired, I think, like a few months ago, he gets a lot of the more int- I guess interesting cases. And what I mean by that is the one that he I don't this is I think it's been a few weeks, so I don't know if anything else has happened with it. It's just what I've overheard him telling his other coworkers because usually, yeah, I'm just in a little cubicle space, and yeah, normally if there's a lot of the attorneys will vent to a lot of the other clerks or secretaries that are there that are um, about stuff they're working on. And this one particular case this attorney is working on, there's this man who has a cow named Meatloaf.
Whoa, that's not at all where I thought this story was going at all when referenced to the meatloaf story.
No, there's a cow named Meatloaf,
I don't like where this is
and
going.
and Meatloaf escaped the house. I don't know the circumstances in which Meatloaf was kept in, but a gate was left open and Meatloaf got out,
That
and
is
so
awesome.
and so um uh there the neighborhood that this man lives in is run by is an HOA. And HOA, I know they got very upset about that Meatloaf got out, and they fined him and all that stuff. And we're like, what? No, they're upset about that. But this guy, um, he happens to be if he's not the only one, he's like one of the only like actual. He's the only like person of color in his neighborhood. And
Oh,
so he went to uh, the law firm that I'm working at and is trying to sue the HOA for being for discriminating against him.
good.
Um, and the dilemma that my attorney, or not my attorney, the attorney is having is that it it, it, it his cow got out. No, none of the other neighbors' cows got out of their pen. So, like, that's why he got fined and no one else. So
So
he's
what
trying
you
to
have to
explain to
do
his
is
client
release more
that.
cows in other people's neighborhoods and see what
Yeah,
happens. That's what
yes,
you have to do.
he's trying to explain to his client that no, I don't think that's what's happening. No one else's cow got out.
That's kind of funny though.
And so I haven't heard uh, any further updates on that, and I don't know if I ever will. But just that bit that I heard was.
Yeah, that's fine for viewers to hear. There's no personal information, no neighborhood information. That's hilarious. I don't have any new interesting information regarding my work. Um, but I do have an amazing new Tinder story.
Dude, are you on Tinder?
I am on Tinder.
Oh my god. I bet the stories never end.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
yeah. I'm only on Tinder.
I was on Tinder for 48 hours and I've got stories.
I'm only on Tinder just to say that I'm actively like trying, quote unquote. But that's pretty much it. I don't like Tinder. I don't like dating apps that are photo based because unless it's like one of those things where like people actively use the app, because I don't know about you guys, but women on Tinder don't use Tinder. Their
Oh no,
accounts
that's
exist, and that's it.
no, that's absolutely true. I've actually heard like a lot of conversations of. There's even studies shown that like men don't get swiped on. Like it's a disproportionate like men to women, and women don't even really swipe very often, or they're super picky. So men get like virtually no matches.
Yeah. So yeah, women just don't use Tinder ever. But like the thing when it comes with me is just that like I don't care. I don't care what you look like. Plus, after a certain time, after a certain amount of time swiping, some of y'all just look the same. I'm sorry, but that's just kind of how it is after a while. It's just some people just look
very
the
true.
same. I'll be scroll if I'm like swiping for like 2-3 minutes. I'll come across someone else and I'm just like, didn't I just see you? And sometimes that is the case. Sometimes they just have multiple different accounts and something. I don't know, but like I don't like the aspect of doing it because it's just like I don't want to start a relationship off by objectifying you because you were one of the few that I swiped right on, which meant that you met some sort of criteria. It's backwards, and I don't like it.
No, I get what you mean.
But I matched with this girl on like Monday of this week. And the first thing that they said was sugar baby, and I was with a question mark, and I was like, the hell is
What?
that? Are you asking me to be yours? They responded no.
Yeah.
And I said, are you asking for you to be mine? And they responded no. And I said, I'm confused then. And they responded no. And I'm just sitting there just like, am I having a real conversation right now? This is the most sane part of this conversation. This was the most sane part of this conversation.
Steven, I would love to have access to your Tinder account.
Honestly,
please and thank you.
Anyway, yeah, honestly, I'll send it to you anyways.
Oh, yes!
I actually think I'm logged in with my Gmail, so yeah, go for it. But anyways,
if I get on there and I don't like your pictures, I'm changing them.
Well, the only pictures you have of me are worse.
I know, that's yuck.
Alright, whatever. But anyways, so I'm just like, I don't know what no means, so that's cool. What are you talking about? And they said yes. And I was just like, I really have no idea what you're trying to say to me. And frankly, I'm already uninterested. And they responded back with, sorry, my kid had my phone. And I was just like, huh. Three things here. One,
kid?
One kid. That's no. I'm 20 and I live in an apartment and still going to college, so that's already a no, but I'll be nice about it. 2, your profile says that you're 18. What? Not judging. 3, how is your kid old enough then to be using words like sugar baby?
That's so weird.
Nope, that's a lie. So the kid thing is just wrong. So
that's really weird.
But anyways, I was just like, sweet, you have a kid? And they responded with, well, it's my boyfriend's kid. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. What? Why are you on Tinder if you have a boyfriend? And she responded with, oh, they died yesterday. And I was just like, what? Tinder if your boyfriend died yesterday?
Also, why are you taking care of his kid?
I mean, that part makes more sense than anything else I've heard. I would be totally okay with the concept of like her looking after like her.
Okay, but that doesn't make sense because she's 18. She's 18. Why wouldn't the mother take care of the child?
I don't know. Listen, like the rest of the conversation is already weird. That part made the most sense in this given situation. And I went, yeah, why are you on Tinder if your boyfriend died yesterday? Like, I mean, sorry for your loss, but I'm super this is super messed up. And
Some people try to weird you out though, so you'll unmatch with them though.
Oh, I know. But I just wanted to see where this was going at this point. And she responded with, "Oh, I'm just trying to look for a date to his funeral." And I was like,
What the?
Well, that is the most disrespectful thing I've ever heard in my
What the
life.
fuck?
And I was just like, nope. There's something, I'm not even gonna be like sugarcoat this. Everything about what I've heard right now is super fucked up. And she was just like, could you and maybe like your family come to the funeral? I would like there to be more new in-laws so that his mother gets jealous. And I was like, what am I reading? Am I having a stroke? What am I like high off my ass? Like what am I reading? And I said, no, you will never speak.
Dude, that's iconic,
to my family. It's like, you will never speak a word to any of my family members, and I'm not going to this funeral. Everything about this is messed up, and you are a horrible person. And she was just like, whatever, man. I would have let you tap at the open casket. And
what the fuck? There's no way that's real.
And I was sitting there just like, no, I even if for some reason I went to the funeral, I brought my family, I still wouldn't do that. No. I would not do that. And that's disrespectful to your boyfriend. That's not what I'm on Tinder for. No one else at the reception would want to watch that, and you'd be arrested for public indecency. And she was just like, oh, my boyfriend would be happy about it. He watched me do stuff with other guys all the time. And I was
what
just
the
like,
hell?
I'm done with this conversation. Even though this is gonna be the funniest story I ever have, I don't want there to be more to tell.
Oh my god.
So I just unmatched, and I sat there. I sat back, like, 'cause this happened while I was getting gas in a whole span of like 15 minutes at a gas station, like getting food and whatnot. I was just like, am I having a dream? Was that real? Did I have a real conversation with another human being? I don't care if that was a fake Tinder account, or if this girl was actually genuinely serious, or if this girl was a guy. I don't care about any of that.
That's a crazy backstory, though.
The fact that this just was some actual human being means that I fear for humanity. Because this is a human being that's local to me. Now I'm terrified to go outside. This is someone that was nearby, within 20 miles of my house. I was so scared. But yeah, that's my little Tinder story that happened. And I'm very uncomfortable.
Understandably so.
You guys remember what our topic is?
No, I don't even remember who's it.
We just did this small talk. I don't know if we went over the topic.
It's me. I was the third wheel.
Okay.
And our topic today will be told after. Well, no, it'll be told before I tell this story. I will lead us off with the story that prompted this. But it's times of betrayal that either you have acted or have been acted upon you. Just basically times of betrayal and or revenge / vengeance / maybe karma. I just want to hear stories about you guys getting royally screwed over and what happened after the fact. Or just you guys being royally screwed over.
Know is that Steven was laughing at me.
Yes.
Because you're mean.
I did not know what you were referring to, no. But,
Steven was laughing at me.
Yeah, I am laughing at you.
Before he left, he was laughing.
Oh. As I was getting ready to leave, I just heard through my headphones, because I didn't deafen myself, I just set my headphones down and muted myself. I just heard very faintly through my headphones, I'm alone. No, he was What's that?
Troubles have all gone.
I walked back to my headset and Grace was just singing that song. I was like, I can still hear you. I haven't left yet. That was funny.
That was mean.
But yeah, this story happened. This took place 2 years ago. So this is really recent. And I will tell you both straight up, it's the only time in my life that I can ever say that I've contemplated murder. I've said and made jokes about just that in general, but I think this is the first time that I actually thought I would be capable of doing so.
Interesting.
But so here's what's going on. So out of the blue, I'm working at my family's business that we have up here in Reno. Just chilling. Out of the blue, someone on Snapchat just adds me. Speaking of which, ringer.
I thought that was such convenient timing.
Oh my god, that was funny. But yeah, I don't recognize their name or like their Bitmoji. It just doesn't look like anyone I know. But because this happens like occasionally, I'm just like, oh, who are you? Like, who is this person? And mess around with them a bit. It turned out it was like someone from my high school that I knew, who wasn't supposed to have Snapchat. So they thought that by naming their Snapchat account something different, and not having a Bitmoji that looked like them, they would be able to get away with it. I don't know why this was the plan, but that was the plan.
Okay.
And this is like mid-July, so this is technically 2.5 years ago when the story starts. It's like mid-July when this happens, and then rolls around to Christmas time. We had been talking a bit. It's about like it's January of the next year. We had been talking a bit, just back and forth after that. Because I knew them. They were from my high school. They were 2 grades below me, so they were currently a junior, and this was my freshman year of college. And they did similar stuff that I did in high school. Like, they were a part of different theater groups. They were actually a part of one of the murder mystery dinner plays that I threw. So I knew them, and they also did track, so I knew them a lot. I'll refer to her as Brandon. Give me a name. That's not Banana. Don't you fucking say Banana.
Banana.
Apple.
All right. So yeah, Apple. Right. I referred to her. Like we were talking back and forth, and she actually asked me to their prom. And I was allowed to go because I was an alumni of 1 year, so I was actually allowed to still go to their prom. And up until like this point, like almost like I don't know, 5-10 minutes after Apple added me on Snapchat, this bitch of a person that I will get to later, Brandon, Grace, give me a name.
Oh, wait, fuck. For like a boy or a girl?
Guy.
Charles.
Alright. So like 5 minutes after Apple adds me on Snapchat, so does Charles. Randomly. Both of them add me at like a similar time, but his came after the fact. And it wasn't by far. But I didn't add him back because I knew who he was, and I knew he was kind of annoying. And from other people, like he annoyed Randy, and that's something that is like you get an award, sir, for doing.
Yeah.
Like if you are able to get under Randy's skin, you have issues. But yeah, like I was just like, I know who you are. I've never spoken a word to you. I'm not gonna add you back. And that was pretty much the end of it. But towards
Holy crap! Does he confront you at the prom?
no,
That'd be hilarious.
no, this story happens at the main meat and potatoes of this story happens after prom. But leading up into it, I think like a month before prom actually happened, Apples was telling me about like who was all in their prom group and what was like gonna be happening. And Charles was one of them because he was friends with Apples, and that was just how that worked. So I was just like, you know what? I guess I'll add him back because I planned on kind of being chauffeur, quote unquote. I was going to be driving Apples because we had a Mustang at the time. My parents just sold it, but we had like a '96 Mustang that I was gonna take her to prom in. And she was just like, "Oh yeah, there's some other people that will need rides," and I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they could come with because kind of peacocking a little bit. Just like, oh yeah, totally. I can drive the other people in your party. And yeah, Charles was one of them. And I was just like, yeah, I'll add this guy back. And I was talking to him a bit, just back and forth, and he just seemed super open. But he showed like a lot of interest in why I was talking to Apples, which I was just like,
That's weird.
well, at the time I was just like, sure, he doesn't know who I am. I'm just some random guy that is coming to prom that is a college person. If they've been friends for a while, which
Yeah.
later I learned that they were, it might just be him just doing a check or whatever. But also, I'm a guy, so I know what his intentions are in this conversation. I know exactly what he's doing. He's trying to, just figure out some information in order to figure out, like, who the new guy that suddenly has all of her attention is going to. So I'm kind of just, like, nonchalantly just being like, I know why you're talking to me, and I'm gonna be cordial with you because I'm not gonna be starting any drama because I'm not in a high school and I don't care. But like, you don't have to keep asking me all of these questions and be super personal about it. Like I'm open and I will remain like available for any questions because I've just always held up to that end of my bargain. But like that doesn't mean you just like invade my personal space if I've only known you for a few weeks.
Yeah.
We come to around prom, and I noticed that like throughout the night, Apple seems a little bit off. And she was always a person that was like a little bit more uncomfortable in person, but was like able to express herself just fine through text. But in person, it was kind of like a little bit awkward, but I didn't like it was a different kind of thing than that. She just seemed that anytime she was like around me, it was like a weird situation, as if like she didn't know what to do about it. And I was just kind of like, it's prom, it's a different step. It's all right. But so I was going back and forth about it. But the time that it actually made me click that something else was going on was it was on the first slow dance of the night. One of her friends came in, and just like it wasn't Charles. It was one of her female friends came in and was just like, you look uncomfortable. Let me save you. In those words, and I was standing there just like, the hell? And I turned around and Charles is behind me. And at this point in time, like I was fine with him when he wasn't like harassing me about Apples. He was a really chill person, and I actually did enjoy like the rest of that night just being super weird because none of my friends were there. I mean, Dylan was there because he was still seeing at the time. But yeah, none of my friends were there, and except Dylan, and Dylan was kind of just being how Dylan is at every dance. He barely like went out on the actual like dance floor and did anything. He was just off to the side, doing whatever. But I was having fun because yeah, none of them were there to like actively make fun of me or whatever. But I honestly wouldn't have cared that night. I was having so much fun. Night ends, and the plan was that all the other people were gonna get rides, but it would just be me and Apples, and I would take her back home. And I was gonna take her to Yogurt Beach on the way back, and then all of a sudden she's like, "I'm actually gonna go on a ride with one of my friends. Is just gonna take me. They're doing like a weird after party thing or something for just girls or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's fine." And I went home. And then I proceeded to talk to Jake just about different stuff going on, because I was just like, I don't ever like I'm not around the school. There's no reason for me to be around the school. I don't want to just like appear at school all the time, or like just go see her at school or whatever, if this is going to be like a relationship thing. And I asked her out after prom a little bit. She said yes. But then there was like a silent period, and I was super confused about what was going on. But in the meantime, I was also looking to help coach the track team, just because I like doing track. My senior year was a huge bust. I didn't have a track season my junior year at all, so I was just like, I know how to do hurdles. I know how to help with sprinters. And from my experience with the coaches and stuff, the stuff that I had to do, I didn't have a lot of help for. So, and I know that people wanted to like look into this stuff, so I can go help them with that. And like after, I don't know, it's like a week later of just kind of silence from Apples. She's just like, so basically, long story short, not gonna go through with like the whole relationship thing. Not able to date. My mom doesn't know you, whatever. And I was kind of just like, I mean, I understand that, just kind of out of the blue person that exists. But I mean, I have no problem meeting your mom if that's gonna make her more comfortable. Yada yada yada, a bunch of other stuff. And it was essentially just, no, not gonna be the thing. Sorry about that kind of deal. She said it a little bit nicer than how I'm portraying it, but she was basically just like, yeah, it can't really happen. And I was just like, all right, but I'm still gonna do the track stuff because I want to. And she was on track team. So was Charles, and I was just like, yeah, I know some people that do track as well. I was in school when they were there, so it'll be nice to see these people again and help them get better at track. After track season ends, whatever. I see less and less of Apples throughout everything, and they also, go to different meets. I went to one of the Well, I actually went to a couple of the meets, and then regionals. I didn't go to state because I think that was in Vegas or whatever. I don't remember. But yeah, I saw less and less of Apples up until regionals, where like the second day of regionals, she didn't have any events. And I kind of like ditched the track coach, because when I was walking around with Jake or walking around with some of the people that I was friends with, she was just like, remember, you're a coach, not a friend. And I was just like, yeah, but I'd like to be a friendly coach and not whatever demon you're acting like right now. I don't do long distance. I don't do all this. I'm hanging out with my sprinters and jumpers. Leave me be. Only been here for a little bit. But yeah, I hung out with her like all of the second day of one of the regional meets, like throughout the entirety of it. And meets last like a long time, even when it's like regionals. So this is like a 10, 12-hour day where I wasn't like hovering over her or doing anything. I was at one of the events. She came over and was at one of the events, and then invited me to go watch all these other people. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. So it wasn't anything that I was provoking. And then track season ends, all this other stuff happens. Meanwhile, throughout this whole period, Charles is being Mr. Charles Man and asking me about all this stuff. And I actually asked him a while back, before I actually asked Apples out, if like she was in a like position for like a relationship, if she had ever like actually talked about dating or anything like that, because I knew that she hadn't been in a relationship before. So I just wanted to see like where that was and if it seemed like a good idea. And he was just like, yeah, man, you should totally go for it, whatever. And it was in a response I wasn't expecting because of how he had behaved. And I was like, okay, all right, interesting. fast forward to the end of track season, where I'm having a conversation with Randall. And Randall is talking to me. We're talking about whatever happening. And then out of the blue, he's like, by the way, what did you do? And I was just like,
Oh.
what kind of weird, vague, arbitrary question is that? I don't know what weight that has behind that, because I do a lot of things. What does that mean? And he was just like, all around, like, the high school, everyone is just absolutely shitting on your presence. And it just happened randomly out of the blue. And I was like, I mean, you remember what high school we went to, right? That doesn't surprise me. But, like, what's happening? He's like, I don't know. Everyone's just, like, telling not to date you. I didn't say her name. Everyone's telling Apples not to date you. And I was just like, huh. Why? What's happening? And basically what I get back from Randy, and then I ask a couple of my other people that I know and have, like, good relationships with at my high school, like, what's happening. Essentially, people were saying that I was a pedophile, and that I was, like, a super pervy for trying to date Apples. I was for dating Apples. And then also they were saying that I was being super creepy because I just showed up to the track meets unannounced without saying anything. That I was always at track practices, and I was like, I was a coach! That's my job! And then one of the other things that they said is that with my last relationship, they said that the only reason that I actually was dating her or dated anybody I dated in high school was just for hookups. People just in an instance, like for like a straight few weeks at the school, were just basically calling me a slut, which was a weird reality. And I was just sitting there just like, I don't care. That's high school drama that doesn't affect me in any way. Like, yeah, it's about me, but literally I've been around Apples. She's had conversations with me. I think I've made it kind of clear that I'm not actually creeping on her, because whenever we were talking, doing whatever, after I asked her out and she said it wasn't like gonna work with her mom, that was the last time I did it. I was just talking to her after that. That was the last time I attempted. I didn't bug her, didn't harass her, didn't do anything. So she knows it's up to her to make the decision. And if that's the decision that she made, then I'm gonna be okay with that.
This whole thing seems really grimy in that, like, you think she would have said something on your behalf.
Yeah.
Like, it's like everything that, like, had started or was initiated kind of started with her.
And I'll get to that part. So Randy informs me, because he's just like, I don't know who started it, but I know who's carrying it on. It's these individuals. One of them was Charles. And some of the other ones were people that I knew and were like around a pretty good amount of time. And then there's just this one guy who at that school is just a complete douche, who I knew, who everyone knew to just actually be like a gross person and be the senior who preys on the freshman kind of deal. That was included in that bit of like trashing me, and I laughed at that part because I was like, I've never talked to you, bro. Why is anyone listening to you? But yeah, so I got a list of names, but the only one that I was interested in was Charles, because Charles was like actually Apple's friend. So I was just like, makes a lot more sense now. And I confronted him about it the day of, like, as soon as I figured out, I sent him like a voice to text message, because I wasn't gonna type all this out, that had me speaking for like 5 to 10 minutes of just telling him that I knew what was up, knew what he was doing, that his plan to like rip me away so that Apple, like, make me look like absolute garbage so that Apples doesn't go for me, like, just wouldn't work, regardless, because anything that happens here, it's not gonna be a position where she's just gonna be like, well, time to go to the next person. Like, that's not who she was.
And I was just like, I know what you're doing, and sent him this huge thing. And then I also messaged Apples. I was like, I just heard about what was going on, and like, I'm not gonna be blunt with you. Like, I'm pretty upset that you didn't say anything about what was going on. Um, and what she was saying is that, like, not only because she would like talk about how it didn't make sense for those things to actually be true. She was super, like, her friends, or like almost her entire friend group was just like, this person is not good, don't date Steven, he's all these terrible things. And she was like, but none of that makes any sense based off of like the experiences I had. And they were just like, oh, he's just a master manipulator, he's just really good at making you believe this other stuff. And I was just, I'm learning about all this stuff, and I was just like, I don't think any single one of these people has actually like talked to me. And I said this in my message to Apples. I was like, hey, I know that a lot of people like talked bad about me, but there was a good number of individuals at that school who were talking to you about how none of that was true. Those people are the people that I actually would be seen with around the high school. Like, I've never hung out with all these other people. So if you want to believe people, you should believe the ones that like actually, hung out with me. And one of the things that was funny is that after I just attacked the absolute shit out of Charles for just like being a slimy individual, one of Apple's friends, like her basically BFF, messaged me like the next morning being like, you can't chew out my friends like that, you can't say all this stuff. And my response was,
oh my god,
I don't know who you are, and I am not gonna read your message. Just
dude,
put it aside.
that shit bothers me so bad when people can't mind their own fucking business. Because the thing is like, yeah, I get it, your friend is upset, but at the end of the day, you don't know that person, you don't know. Because what's so weird is maybe I'm just fucking emotionally stupid, but like, until recently, I genuinely realized that there are two sides to every story.
Yeah.
That I feel like it just took me a really long time to realize that, and that's mostly just because, I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't really have a good, like, revenge story, and that's just purely because I've always been very good at reading people. I'm very good at reading their body language and their tone, and I'm like, okay, you're bad news. Stay the fuck away from me. And some of my friends have gotten pressed over this too, and they're like, "You're judging people unfairly, like you're doing this," and then they'll turn around and they'll do like the world's biggest fucking betrayal, and I'm like, I don't feel bad for you because I gave you a heads up, and you've chosen not to believe me when it comes to grimy people multiple times. But it is what it is.
And so this is where the story comes full circle. One of the things that I did actually end up reading in the message that she sent was something about that. Not only were like students dissing on me, but someone of a higher authority also said something. And I was just like, the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
There's like a government there, other than like student body stuff. There's like a mob boss at this school. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but what the hell does the higher authority mean? And I did some digging, and and Randall helped me do some research with this, which is why I constantly made references like this when he was on to this story, just because it makes both of us laugh at this point. We did some digging, and we were just like, the only reason that they would say higher authority, because Apples was a really good student, and not just like a good student as far as like grades or whatnot. They were just a good person. Like, there was nothing that they would have done that would have led to any of this. They don't like the confrontation aspect, and in all honesty, her actions were the only thing that made sense in my opinion, because when I was dating and I'll probably just bleep that, all of my friends at some point, or like there was a point in our relationship where all of my friends were just like, dude, this isn't good for you, you need to stop this now. And in the moment, but like at that point in time, all they've had shown me was like horrible examples of them mistreating her. So I was sitting there just like, they've never
confronted me like this. However, they've only expressed negative emotions about her as a person in general. So I don't know how to take this information, if it's like the same or not. And I can understand her being in that position of her friends telling her that I was not a good option, but people who were my friends who she wasn't as close with telling her that I was a good person. It's kind of a weird spot to be in, and honestly, better play it safe than sorry. I was totally, after I understood what like her thought process was, because it was her decision at the end of the day, I was like, I'm not mad at you at all for anything that happened. Like, I feel like you made a good decision with like the information you were provided. Whether or not the information was true or 100%, you still made your decision based off of what was provided, and was probably the safest option. But we did some digging, and we figured out like we were like, the only way that a higher power would exist in the minds of a good student, it would have to be a staff member. But what kind of staff member is engaging in this kind of like high school drama crap when I'm not at that school anymore? When I'm not there, I was like, there's no way it's a new teacher, because they would have no idea who I am. It's got to be a teacher that was there for me, but it's got to be a teacher that I probably didn't have like a good connection to. And at the time, there were only like 4 or 5 teachers there that knew who I was, because they have staff interchanging all the time. So I was just like trying to narrow it down and figure it out. And I made a connection at prom. One of the things that I noticed was Apples and her best friend constantly left the dance floor. Like, I was with her party, and it was the guys and the girls or whatever, and we were all dancing kind of like in a group, but those two constantly left like the dance floor, and I would occasionally like see where they went, and it was always, they always like walked up to this one teacher who was sitting there, who happened to be the wife of the theater director. And there's another connection here that I hate so much, that was the reason for like most of this. The theater director and his wife are Apple's favorite teachers. Like, she went to them with everything, especially the theater director. But you know, they're married, and she went to his wife constantly. So like, they kind of just did that thing where it was like, married people don't keep secrets for one another. Plus, you would have told me later anyways. Kind of spiel. But essentially, throughout the night, it appeared that Apples was trying to get like good sound advice on what to do in regards to what she was hearing about me, because apparently these rumors were starting before she even asked me to prom about everything going on. She was being warned about all this stuff beforehand, before I even like said yes to going to prom with her or even asked her out. The stuff was going around, and she apparently just seeked like a more adult advice. There's a follow-up to this story. The wife that she was talking to happened to be my first girlfriend, now ex-girlfriend, favorite teacher. I dated my first girlfriend for almost 2 years, and she was her favorite teacher, and she talked about everything. After like my 3rd year of high school is when I found out that she was just basically a snake. She was an evil person. She was manipulative. She was doing all this stuff, but most importantly, she
It's okay,
lied
Steven, you can
about
say
me.
my name.
I didn't date you.
I'm kidding. God.
But most importantly, she like lied about everything that she did. It was just in her, just how she operated. She lied in her like schoolwork. She was constantly cheating on like work and tests and all this other stuff. But that was just who she was. And so I'm thinking back, if her favorite teacher was, you know, the theater director's wife, and that's now one of Apple's favorite teachers, and that teacher gave her advice about me in regards to what my ex-girlfriend would have said that I did to her, that would have been like a person being like, you need to be careful about this and that kind of deal that would have pushed her to not do it. Because I was thinking, there's no way it was the theater director, because we got along so well. We were super similar in a lot of ways. He had way more raging ADHD than I could ever imagine, but we were really similar people. And so I was just like, there was no way that it was him, but it had to be one of those two, because those were the two staff members that she trusted. I can't imagine that, like, his wife just absolutely shat on me in front of the both of them. I can only imagine that she was just like, well, if people are talking about this and that, high school rumors are blah, blah, but, you know, you got to be careful. I know that there are instances or whatever, blah, 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 that she knows of from a lie that my ex said. But all of this happened, and I found out that most of it originated as far as, like, other than the fact that, like, she should watch out or whatever, the pedophilia, like, rumor and all the other crap about, like, me just stalking her all originated from Charles. All of that was just a ruse to get me out of the picture. And when I learned about that, I called him out on it, and he called me, like, a month later to, like, apologize or whatever, and I listened to him tell me this, like, fake story that he made up, and I could tell that it was fake because the details he described, because he tried to say that he was, like, sexually assaulted in his past, and the way that he described
Like, that's an excuse at all, though.
well,
even if that was true, that's still not an excuse.
Well, he was trying to apologize to me for what happened, but he was doing it like, that's just what I heard, and I wanted to make sure she was safe. And I was like, you want to know the real story about what happened with my exes? Here, I'll give you the story. I was too young and too innocent to know anything about what was going on in my first relationship, but I was sexually assaulted on multiple occasions. And this continued to affect every single part of, like, my life after that, because I didn't know what the heck was going on, because I had never been introduced to something, like, and just been thrown into the deep end like that. And so I was like, if you want to know what actually I've been through and not listen to rumors, then you can ask me, because I'll answer any of your questions. And he was like, oh, no, I know what you've been through. When I was like 10 years old, this girl did this to me, and it responded with me doing it. And I was like, your body doesn't have the hormones to actually do what you're saying that you're doing. But I'm going to let you go on with this story. And at the end of it, I was like, I don't believe a word you say. I don't want to see you again. I don't want to actually hear your voice again. I can't do anything about you and your relationship with apples, but if I find out from friends at that school that you do anything to hurt her, I will fucking murder you. I will kill you, I will find you, and it will be painful. And I hung up the phone. And I sat there and I was just like, wow, I actually meant every word of that. And I contemplated myself. I was just like, I'm not scared or shocked. Well, I'm kind of like, I'm not scared or like that I could think that thought or like surprised or whatever, but it's just like, wow, I feel like I actually would strangle him if I saw him again. And so, yeah, still to this day, I've been like, I'm not like angry at him and like, well, that's not necessarily true. It's not like I haven't like let go, because I don't care about the situation entirely.
That's something you're allowed to hold on and be petty for the rest of your life. I'm not judging.
Yeah, I'm not mad about anything that like actually happened, but I've told this to Randy and I've said this to Jake. It's just like, if I ever like come face to face with this man, we're fighting right there. It'll be Pokemon trainer style with, if I see you, it's time to battle. Like,
yeah.
I told Randy, because he had a senior grad party not too long ago, and I was just like, if you invite him, I will bring boxing gloves. One for me, a set for me and a set for him, and I will fight him in front of everybody. I will do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, I never like sought revenge. I know that everyone eventually like dropped, well no, I know that he like dropped everyone eventually.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure. Yeah.
but-
Like, that was his choice.
Yeah, but so there was no like actual vengeance that came from it. It was just me being like, that's probably like God or just fate telling me that going back to high school to like talk to anybody in like a romantic sense, even it's just no.
Well, now we're
It's just
also
a
at the
no.
age. Now we're also at like that age gap where it's creepy.
Oh yeah, well that's like the 2 years.
No, I
that's
know.
how it go down.
No, I know, and I'm just saying. Like, I know at the time it wasn't, but now it is.
Oh yeah, now it is.
Which is so weird to say too, just because I'm sorry. I just think it's so weird because, like, mentally you're still the same, but also
Yeah.
you're so mentally different. Like, I feel exactly the same as I did when I was 17, but also, like, I feel like I look at high schoolers now and it's like, you're so ignorant and stupid. Just shut your mouth.
Yeah. No,
But-
that was what senior year was for me specifically, was just kind of like a wake up call, seeing how like new freshmen came in and then seeing how some of my friends were still acting. I was just like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
I get that I'm only in high school and it's probably a little early to have this conversation, but like what am I trying to accomplish here? And so instead of like being super immature and doing everything, I just stopped caring about everything. I just went with the flow of everything.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. That bothers me, though, just because, like, I know you said she was non-confrontational, but I'm sorry. I mean, this hot take. This is going to be very unpopular opinion. I hate non-confrontational people.
Oh, I do
Because-
too. I don't like it
Because
at all.
it's like, there's a difference between being, non-confrontational and not liking conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's, oh, I'm so scared to start up a conflict that I'm gonna let someone be accused of being a fucking pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not gonna say anything when my friends treat somebody like shit, which I don't get. Like, for me personally, is I don't think I could be friends with anybody that so vehemently craps and shits on somebody
Oh,
so
yeah.
much, so violently, having absolutely no proof, no sources, no nothing. It's just what they've heard through the grapevine, and so they treat that person like crap.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen it too, and I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. So
I don't get it.
no attempts were made at seeking out that kind of relationship with Apples after that, because I was just like, one, for the reasons you stated, Grace, like that kind of communication, or to like ask me if any of this is true, is kind of important. Because even if this is a weird hypothetical, but even if all of that was true, I've still always been like, yeah, I'll open up. And I feel like at this point, it's really easy to tell if I lie to someone about something like that. And I get really worked up about true things. But then second, I was just like, I get having friends that have your back, and I made the mistake of just like completely tossing out my friends' opinions when they were genuinely trying to like have a one-to-one with me. Granted, they didn't do it in the best way, but still, I made that mistake. So like, I understand having friends that like you rely on and are close to when it comes to this stuff.
I don't know what it's like to have friends.
Yeah.
But it's also important to me to be in a situation in which I won't have to fight your friends for their approval, for your like appreciation or whatever.
So that is where this episode is going to end for the moment. If you guys want to hear what Brandon and Grace's stories are, please tune in next week for when we will talk and hear about Brandon and Grace's stories. I just wanted to say thank you guys for listening to this episode in particular. If you listened it through the end, we greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much. And also, just to those of you who are just in some sort of similar situation, because I can't imagine that you would have the exact same situation, but for those of you who are in similar situations in which you're dealing with high school drama, normal drama, just with other people as far as relationships and all this other stuff, don't let it get to you, because the truth of the matter is, you know who you are and you know what you did, And the people that you trust and the people that are good for you in your life will know what the truth is. Or even if the people who are trustworthy in your life and that you appreciate and that you hold very close to you, even if they are like someone who's close to you, they still might not be the person that you should be keeping in your life. The people who are right for you are going to be the ones who make sure that they have the full story, because they're going to be concerned about who they have in their own life. And if they are able to know that that is not the kind of person you are, if there are rumors and stuff going on about you, then that's a good person to have in your life. Don't worry about all what's being said by all these other people. Worry about what you know and who you are. And worry about keeping those people who know who you are close to you. Because that's what's important. Don't let the world get you down. Don't let the world affect you. And don't let the world tell you who you are. Thank you guys for listening, and tune in next week for another episode of Third Wheel.